Amidst the celebration of the United States Embassy move comes the gruesome finale to the Hamas-sponsored March of Return protest. Yesterday, as Americans and Israelis feted the opening of the embassy, some 40,000 Palestinians amassed on the Gaza border, and things quickly spiraled into violence. At this time, at least 58 Palestinians are believed to have been killed in these latest clashes, bloodshed that is unfortunately expected to continue today. LTV's Brett Allen Smith is now with us. Brett, what's the security situation now?
Well, right now it's still a little bit early, but at this time we're seeing those rallies resuming along the Gaza border, though in significantly fewer numbers compared to yesterday, only about a couple hundred today, I would say. But today isn't just about protests in the embassy move. Today it actually marks the Nakba, the catastrophe day, as the Palestinians call it, which commemorates the day that Palestinians were expelled from their land in Israel's own 1948 independence war. And obviously this time is exactly what Hamas had in mind, of course, when they scheduled these protests in the first place. Things were designed to hit, a fever pitch yesterday in parallel with the embassy opening. This evening also happens to be the start of the Muslim Ramadan holiday, which is why, in addition to Gaza, we're actually seeing major protests forming in, the West Bank and East Jerusalem, and even here in Arab-Israeli communities as well in Israel.
All right, well, let's talk a little bit now about the violence that we're seeing for a second, though, because as of now, the Gaza Health Ministry says 58 Palestinians were killed in yesterday's clashes. The IDF, of course, is saying that Hamas has willingly put these people in harm's way, probably to stage this, this PR war that we're seeing. I mean, we've even seen, fake reports of guys running behind, guys with kids who look wounded but aren't. But still, people are still accusing Israel of using too much lethal force. So is that much force warranted in this case?
Look, obviously we can't, underplay the loss of human life here, and there's obviously a lot of unrest and tension going on. In the last 6 weeks for these protests, we've seen something like 112 Palestinians killed in those clashes, and this includes, 2 journalists, several minors, and possibly even an infant baby yesterday. Now, at the same time, let's be very clear about something. Nothing in the Middle East is ever as cut and dry as it appears. Hamas is known to pay protesters to approach or even breach that security fence, and that's something that they know will put those people in harm's way. And for the ordinary Gaza citizen, that's enough money to change, their family's life, let's say. So that's a very disturbing set of options. Let's put it that way.
Well, I mean, and not only that, but Hamas is sponsored by Iran specifically for stuff like this, carrying out terror and sowing unrest targeted right at Israel.
Sure, but I think that where things get murky is that some Palestinians do feel that they do have a legitimate reason to feel, betrayed by the embassy move. Most feel like they tried negotiations in the past, and the Palestinians were actually kind of hopeful that President Trump would give them a serious peace deal that they would really consider. But for most Palestinians that we talk to anyway, that optimism vanished the moment that Trump moved the embassy, because it essentially seemed to them like America had picked a side and could no longer be impartial. So while Hamas may be clearly manipulating that feeling, that anger, we're also seeing tons of nonviolent protests today as well, and not just from Palestinians as we've seen.
All right, well, the big question is, will this decision put Israel and the Palestinians on a path for peace? We might just have to wait for the dust to settle to know for sure. So thanks for the update, Brett.
Of course.